understanding hip hop and understanding the power of hip hop is so imperative to understanding how Hamilton works and how important the spoken word can be. That is what is at the beating core of Hamilton. We need to talk about rap music if we're going to talk about Hamilton, because Hamilton, as you all know, I'm sure, is this blend of musical theater and rap and hip hop. And here at the Broadway Maven, it's called the Broadway Maven, and so I'm assuming that most people here have some sort of familiarity with Broadway. But I'm assuming that many people here have almost no familiarity with rap music, and I'm sure some of you do. But I think there are many people in this room, and there were many people at the afternoon session who had no familiarity with rap music at all. And so that is, oh, I should also make David a co-host. I just noticed David is here. Hello, David. Um, so that is what we're talking about today. I think that you cannot talk about the music of Hamilton at a deep level without some understanding about how storytelling works in rap music. And so today, we're actually not even talking primarily about Hamilton. Today, we're going to talk about To Pimp a Butterfly, which is a rap album. And with the concepts that we find in this session on this album, we're going to take those and then apply them to the music of Hamilton in the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be Hamilton approached from a perspective that you may never have heard before. So it's going to be a little bit outside of your comfort zone, and I hope that you are as excited as I am, because I am very, very excited. So before we dive in, also, because it's rap music, I do have to let you know there's going to be vulgarity involved. There's going to be some vulgar language you're going to hear on the tracks, and from me when I quote the lyrics, this includes racialized language. Obviously, this is not um, uh, for everybody, but if the vulgarity makes you uncomfortable, I would like for you to think of it as a I would like for you to think of it as a different language. I would like for you to think of it as a vernacular that these people are using to communicate their ideas, and try to see past the vulgarity to the idea that is being expressed underneath. I think that is very important. Um, so, what is rap music? Rhythm and poetry. That's literally what it is. That is where the term rap music comes from. Rhythm and poetry, R-A-P, rap. And that's because there's a beat with lyrics over top. And the lyrics are very important in rap music. They aren't chosen at random. They are chosen with the attention to detail of poetry. They use flow, which is like a unique rhythm. Every rapper kind of has their own style of flow. So they emphasize different beats. They emphasize different syllables. They rhyme in different ways. Every rapper has a different style. Nicki Minaj uses a lot of alliteration. Eminem uses a lot of internal rhymes, so rhymes within lyrics. Kendrick Lamar uses a lot of different like character voices and stuff. They all have different unique flows that make them unique. And rap, actually, to your point, there's a point being debated in the chat right now from Gregory. To your point, Gregory, rap gets a reputation for being less musical than other genres because the singers are not singing a melody. But it is actually quite musical. There are choruses often and hooks that have very interesting musical ideas. It often incorporates singing with lots of crossover with R&B, rhythm and blues music, and the beat itself can be extremely musical. There's a lot of crossover with jazz music, actually, and I want to play a clip here of the intro to one of the songs on the album we're going to talk about, because it's very surprising how musical it can be, actually. And I totally understand where you're coming from, Gregory, 100%, because rap does get that reputation amongst people who aren't familiar with it. But this is also rap music. Listen to this. Can you hear this? That is the intro to to uh, a song on Kendrick Lamar's album. So that stereotype is wrong, um, but it is out there. So I understand why you think that way. Um, the other thing that it's important to talk about when it comes to rap music is that rap is inherently a black art form. We cannot avoid that fact. That doesn't mean that only black people are allowed to rap. It doesn't mean that only black people are allowed to enjoy rap. What it does mean is that it evolved out of spoken word traditions and rhythmic traditions that date back to the slave trade. It evolved as a way for young black folks, especially young black men, to uplift their voices when they were struggling under oppression. So rap and hip hop is inherently an art form that is designed to uplift marginalized voices, much like in Hamilton. In rap music, people who come from poverty and who come from like places where there's a lot of gang violence and live difficult lives in and have this difficult upbringing, people in that situation can use rap music to get out of it. And it's not just black folks either. Eminem, for example, is a very famous white rapper who also, rose to prominence as a rapper coming out of living in poverty, living in his like white trash, quote unquote, neighborhood. He became famous. He built himself up using his writing. And that's exactly like how Hamilton writes his way out in Hamilton. It's exactly like the story of the real Alexander Hamilton. Alexander Hamilton was an immigrant. He came to the country after a hurricane destroyed his town. He was literally a bastard son of a whore. It's in the first line of the musical. And he came to the country after his mother died and there was a hurricane that destroyed his town. And he used his pen and his words to rise above his station. And that is exactly what the point of hip hop is. And so that's why this idea is so brilliant from Lin-Manuel Miranda, is because even though the actual culture of hip hop didn't exist back when Alexander Hamilton was alive, the spirit of hip hop is exactly what Hamilton was doing, which is marginalized folks lifting themselves up with the power of their writing. That's rap music. Gonna address a couple things. Eve P says it doesn't mean that all black people necessarily prefer rap music. Of course not. You can't make generalizations about anything when it comes to any race of people. So obviously not all black people love rap music. There is an element that a lot of black people gravitate towards rap music because of the representation that they see in rap music, I'm sure. But obviously not all black people like rap music. It is not that simple. Lauren has a good question. What is the difference between rap and hip hop? Hip hop is kind of a wider cultural phenomenon. So hip hop includes other things. It can include some kind of dance music. It can include some kinds of R&B. There's a lot of crossover there. Rap music is specifically music where the singer isn't singing a melody, but is like speaking over the rhythm in time. And Penny, rap is offensive, so many don't like it. A lot of what is offensive about rap is the vulgar language that's being used, which is kind of being used just to rebel, and also because that is how people in the communities where rap music originate traditionally speak. Like, they are often coming from lower class areas, low income neighborhoods, and they use a lot of vulgarity. And so that vulgarity just makes its way into the music naturally. But I would encourage you to look beneath the vulgarity, and we're going to do that a little bit in a minute. Attitudes towards women. Okay, that is 100%. That is 100% valid though, David. Yes. Um, there's a lot of misogyny in rap culture. There's a lot of homophobia in rap culture. All of those things are true. And everything is problematizable. Nothing is without its problems. And so we can definitely have a conversation about how rap music contains traditionally some very misogynistic and very homophobic attitudes. That's 100% true. Um, but even like there's an element of that's true, Beth. So does country music. Um, Linda, though, the violence that's being spoken is a reality for a lot of these people, right? The violence that's being spoken is a reality. They are sharing their reality. They are educating other people on what they actually have to live with. There are people who grow up and gang violence is all around them. That is a reality that many people live with in America. There are people who grow up facing hate crimes. There are people who grow up facing all of this kind of stuff that is being talked about in rap music. So even though it is violent and it can sometimes be graphically violent, um, that is truthful. And that's where it comes from. It's not gratuitous necessarily. And even I want to point out even the like quote unquote fuck bitches get money attitude in rap music, which often is seen as very shallow and very offensive, is also in its own way an expression of the struggles of poor black folks in America because it sells a fantasy of escape from the realities of their situation. So everything in rap music is tied back to that uplifting marginalized voices. That is the bottom line. It is also misogynistic and it is also homophobic. All of those things are true. That is very true about rap culture in general. Today I want to look at To Pimp a Butterfly. So this right here is Kendrick Lamar. He is a Pulitzer Prize winner, very similar to Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is also a Pulitzer Prize winner. And To Pimp a Butterfly came out in 2015, shortly before Hamilton. So like same year that Hamilton premiered on Broadway. So these were two kind of hip hop works of art that came out around the same time. Um, it came out. It was his third studio album, and it uses the metaphor pimping a butterfly to talk about how he exploits his own blackness and his own artistry in the music industry. So we're gonna listen to a bunch of clips from To Pimp a Butterfly today. And if you are all here for musical theater, don't worry because To Pimp a Butterfly is basically a musical in a lot of ways. It has motifs. We talk about motifs all the time. Stephen Sondheim puts it in his music. Well, guess who else puts it in their music? Kendrick Lamar. It has different characters. Kendrick raps from the perspective of many different people. It has action. You can hear things happening. There are scenes, there are dialogues that are taking place in the album that you can hear. You hear him gulping the bottle. You hear him speaking to another man. You hear a fight break out. You hear things happen. It's like a scene. There's a longer form narrative. It's not quite as linear as in a musical. It's not quite as literal as in a musical. But there is a clear character arc. Things need to be a lot more linear and literal in musical theater because in musical theater you pay $250 for your ticket, you sit down, you get to hear it once, and you need to understand it on a first listen. With an album, you get to re-listen to it over and over and over, and so there's so much densely packed into To Pimp a Butterfly. So today we are going to just skim the surface of what you can experience in this album. The other thing is that all of the staple musical numbers in musical theater structure are on this album. Think of an opening number, right? What does an opening number need to do in a musical? Throw it in the chat. You know what it needs to do. Opening numbers in musicals. What do they need to do? What do they accomplish? Establish the characters. That's true. Exposition. Kelvin found the magic word. Build the world. Yes. Build the world. And Pat found the other magic word, establish a tone. Those are the two words I love to use. The world of the show and the tone of the show. And there are 3 tracks on To Pimp a Butterfly. The first 3 tracks set up the world that Kendrick is living in at the beginning of his character arc. Then we have I want numbers. What do I want numbers need to do in musical theater? Put that in the chat. This is an easy one. Everyone should get it right. What do I want numbers need to do in musical theater? Exactly. Show us what the character wants. Specifically, the lead character. Yes, Pat. Yes, Lauren. The main character, the lead character, whoever the protagonist is, what is the thing that they are fighting for that we are going to watch them fight for throughout the entirety of this show? To Pimp a Butterfly has an I Want song. We get to hear Kendrick's want. Then we have the Act 1 finale. In most musicals, Act 1 finales, create suspense so that you want to come back for Act 2. But even in musicals where there's no intermission, for example, Beth and I were just talking about Teeth. There's no intermission in Teeth, but there's a very clear Act 1 finale moment. You don't go to intermission afterwards, but there's a very clear midpoint moment. So that moment where the teeth come out for the first time, or the moment in Come From Away, Screechin', even though that doesn't have an intermission, or Defying Gravity, which does have an intermission. What does an Act 1 finale need to accomplish in a musical other than just getting the audience ready for Act 2? What is the major thing that happens in the story in an Act 1 finale? Suspense, yes, but that's more in terms of like if you're going to intermission. Pinnacle of the arc. That's a good way of putting it, Lauren, actually. Yes. It's like a big reversal. It's like a point of no return. Either the character makes a big decision or something big changes and we can never go back. So there's something new, there's something fresh. That is really good to pair with the intermission because it creates suspense to come back to Act 2. But the main point is that there's a point of no return. There's a big shift in the middle. And sure enough, there's an Act 1 finale number where there's a big point of no return change in Kendrick's album. And then what about 11 o'clock numbers? I always talk about 11 o'clock numbers. I love to talk about 11 o'clock numbers. Who's listening? 11 o'clock numbers. What does an 11 o'clock number need to accomplish? Aha! Miriam and Ray, you guys were here this afternoon, weren't you? But still, yes. That's exactly right. The big word for me for 11 o'clock number is lesson. It's the end of the journey. The character has grown. The character has changed. What have they learned? How are they different? They sum that all up in a number that is usually very show-stopping and very exciting near the end of the show. So that's also in this album. And this album has one of my favorite 11 o'clock numbers of all time. It's the second to last track on the album. And in it, Kendrick Lamar sums up the entire character arc and sums up where his arrival is at. And it's one of the greatest 11 o'clock numbers of all time, but it's on a hip-hop album. So that's the thing that I want you to get from today's session is like hip-hop is a really powerful storytelling medium. And Hamilton is going to combine storytelling techniques from musical theater and from hip-hop into this amazing piece of storytelling that it is. And I hope everyone does go to listen to this album in its entirety after this session, Kelvin. 100%. Here comes the vulgarity, right? Ta-da! There it is. It's the F word. That's okay. That's okay. Not a big deal. This song is called Wesley's Theory. This is one of the first things on the album.
When the four corners of this cocoon collide, you'll slip through the cracks, hoping that you'll survive. Gather your weight, take a deep look inside. Are you really who they idolize? To pimp a butterfly.
At first I did love you, but I just wanna fuck. Late nights thinking
So these are the first words that Kendrick sings on the album, or that Kendrick raps on the album. And he's not talking about a woman here, right? We have to look beyond the vulgarity. This is actually, he's talking about rap music itself. Rap music was his first love. Rap music was his first girlfriend, in a way. He used to have a true passion for it. At first, I Did Love You. But now, he's achieved fame. And he's got all this money. He's living in a world where he's this big rap sensation. And now, he's feeling a little bit disillusioned with it. And he doesn't have the same passion that he used to have. He feels like he sold out a little bit. That is the world that we're entered into right away. And this is very true to what Kendrick was going through when he was working on this album. His previous album, Good Kid, Mad City, which is also a masterpiece of musical storytelling, his previous album had blown up, and he was one of the like hot new things, and he had all the money and all of the everything that he wanted, and that is the world that we begin in, and the first 3 tracks are all setting that up in different ways. This is another line in Wesley's theory that I think is really, really important. This is where he sings from the perspective of somebody else. Remember when I said there were like characters? This is one of those characters. He sings, he personifies America itself into the character of Uncle Sam, and he raps from the perspective of America.
What you want, you a house, you a car, 40 acres and a mule, a piano, a guitar, anything. Say my name is Uncle Sam on your dog. Motherfucker, you can live at the mall. I know you're kind, that's why I'm kind. Don't have receipts, oh, man, that's fine. Pay me later, wear those gaiters. Cliche and say fuck your haters.
So here he's getting everything he wants, right? He's allowed to have whatever he wants because he's famous, and he is selling his talent to the industry. And so he's getting whatever he wants. He gets the house, he gets the car, he gets the piano, he gets the guitar. But there you go. ME in the chat nailed it. That 40 acres and a mule in the middle there is a little bit insidious, because that refers to exactly the government promise to give every freed slave a mule and 40 acres, which was never followed through with. Exactly. So, this is also, by the way, this is also our first motif. This is going to come back. The what you want you is going to come back. So, remember that. Great. So, that's the first couple tracks. They establish this world that Kendrick is living in where he has everything he wants. King Kunta is kind of a party vibe.
I got a bone to pick.
There's like a dance group to it. But he's referencing Kunta Kinte, who was famously a black man who got his legs cut off, and he was made famous by the TV show Roots. And so we have this like dance groove, and it ends with this poem totally a cappella in the clear. So that's the sound of the parties that Kendrick is experiencing, right? Literally the dance grooves, the we want the funk. Kendrick is experiencing all of these parties. He's living the great life because he's famous. But then he has this poem.
We want the funk! I remember you was conflicted, misusing your influence.
And the music totally changes. And we go into the next track, which is called Institutionalized. those are the first 2 lines of a poem that keeps coming back. That's the other major motif.
What money got to do with it? When I don't know the full definition of a rap image. I'm trapped inside the ghetto and I ain't proud to admit it. Institutional lies, I keep running back for a visit. Hold up. Get it back. I said I'm
Exactly, Kelvin. A scene change if this were on stage. We go from this party vibe with this dance groove that JR points out, reminiscent of very early rap from the 70s, 100%. And we go from that dance groove. Then he has the first 2 lines of this poem that come into his mind. And we're going to slowly see the poem getting fully written over the course of the album. Here, it's just the first 2 lines. I remember you was conflicted, misusing your influence. And he is feeling conflicted at this moment. And he feels like he's misusing the influence that he has, the fame that he has. And that thought propels him into this totally different section of music. It is just like in Stephen Sondheim's work, how a character has a thought occur to them, and then that changes the music underneath what they're singing. 100% like that. And then here, this is an I Want song right here. He's singing about how he's got all this money, you know? He's singing about how he's famous and successful, and then the first line of this song is what money got to do with it. Maybe money doesn't really matter all that much. He's trapped inside the ghetto and I am proud to admit it. Institutionalized, I keep running back for a visit. He thought that fame would save him from his demons. He thought that fame would save him from his shame. He thought that once he got famous, all of his problems would be solved, but there was something inside him that wasn't fixed, and fame is just making it worse. And so that's what he wants. He wants something deeper. He wants to find meaning. He wants to figure out how to use his fame properly. That's his want. And we are going to watch him struggle with this for the entire album. It's exactly one thing that he's struggling with. Just like in Wicked, Elphaba wants to be with the wizard. That is her one want. Here, he wants to figure out why he's conflicted in this way. He wants to address this. He wants to heal. Now, we've had this I Want song. We know what Kendrick wants. We have this poem that's going to keep coming back. We hear the next couple lines of the poem in the end of a track called These Walls. And it takes us into track 6, which is called You. And we're going to listen to a bit of that right now because it's basically a scene. Man, I was jamming out to this like crazy jazz and no one else was hearing it. I'm hearing it now. Did you hear that? You heard that? Okay. Okay. So he's literally screaming here. That's how it starts. And the scene is he's drinking and crying and sobbing and having this like mental breakdown in a hotel room. And we get a housekeeping lady knocks on the door. Like it's fully a scene. Here we go.
Abre la puerta, tengo que limpiar el cuarto. Es que no hay mucho tiempo.
You the reason why mama and them leaving. No, you ain't shit. You say you love them. I know you don't mean it. I know you irresponsible, selfish, you deny you.
So you can hear he's like his voice is breaking. He's so like emotional. He's drunk. He's crying. This is acting. Like he's just acting as the character in the moment, talking to himself in the mirror. It's literally acting. Like I bet you didn't like. Sniffling is literally in the lyrics. Like it's just it's just musical theater basically. And then we hear him drinking from the bottle in the album as well.
Y'all damn near beefing, I see it, and you're the reason, nigga. And if this bottle could talk, I cry myself to sleep, bitch. Everything is your fault. Falls breaking to pieces, earthquakes on every weekend. Because you shook as soon as you knew confinement was needed.
So we come out of this really dark song where he's like contemplating suicide, drunk, crying, brutal. And now we get this big reversal where he makes a decision that he's not going to just drink himself to death and go crazy, as so many celebrities do under the pressures of fame. He's going to go back to his hometown, to the neighborhood where he grew up in, and he's going to do some soul searching there. And that's what the next song is, and this is an Act 1 finale if I ever heard one.
All's my life I has to fight, nigga. All's my life hard times like, yeah. Bad trips like, yeah. Nazareth, I'm fucked up, homie, you fucked up. But if God got us, then we gon' be alright.
Nigga, we gon' be alright. Nigga, we gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. Do you hear?
He's making the decision to be alright. He's making the decision to take matters into his own hands and pull his bootstraps up and make himself feel better. It's a major decision, a major reversal, and it's a point of no return. Then we get this. Another character. It's literally the devil himself. Lucy is his nickname for the devil, Lucifer. And what is he saying? Exactly what we've heard earlier in the album. So it's literally just a motif, just like in musical theater. Let me find it and I can, here we go.
What you want? You a house, you a car, 40 acres and a mule, a piano, a guitar, anything. See, my name is Lucy, I'm your dog. Motherfucker, you can live at the mall. I can see the evil, I can tell it, I know it's illegal, I don't.
You can hear, like, it's two different characters. Like, up until here, like, what you want. This whole section where he's promising you anything you want. You can live at the mall. I'm the devil and I'm promising you everything you want if you give your soul to me. You can hear that that's panned, like it's coming more out of one ear. And then when I can see the evil, I can tell it, I know it's illegal. That's panned to the other side. So he's having a conversation with himself here. It's not like just random words. It's like a full-on conversation with two characters arguing. The devil is like, no, don't go home. You love living here in LA where you're rich and famous. You can have anything you want. But that's the devil talking. And Kendrick goes, no, I know that's the devil talking. I know that's going to drag me down. I'm going home. We're going to be all right. Like, it's like, what is the difference between that and Defying Gravity? Like, it's this major character shift, this major decision. And then he also says, rest assured, my rights, my wrongs, I write till I'm right with God. That feels very reminiscent of Hamilton, how he writes his way out. So we end this with a repeat of the poem. Now we add a few more lines on. I didn't want to self-destruct. The evils of Lucy, the devil, was all around me, so I went running for answers. And then he runs home. And the next track, we literally hear him running and we hear him panting while like thoughts are running through his head of things people have said to him. And the next couple tracks on the album, so kind of quote unquote act 2 of this musical, includes a track called Mama, where he comes home and everyone there is like, we've been waiting for you, we've been waiting for you. He meets a young kid who asks him questions. Then there's a track called Hood Politics, where he talks about how, in perspective, all the things he thinks are important, you know, the women in his life, the material things, the anxieties he has, those don't mean anything when compared to, you know, the knowledge of the Black folks who have died from gun violence and gang violence. And the quote is all the dead homies, and that's in Hood Politics. And then how much a dollar costs. So these are all kind of different lessons that he's learning. How much a dollar costs is a scene between him and a homeless man asking him for $1. And he's like, I don't have any money for you. I'm not giving you any money. I need all of my money. I'm not giving it away. And then the homeless man reveals that he is actually Jesus. So that is a reference to that story in the Bible. And that track is called How Much a Dollar Costs. It's literally just a scene. Then there's Complexion, where he talks about colorism in black communities. The Blacker the Berry, where he talks about black pride. And You Ain't Gotta Lie, where he talks about people being fake and materialistic. And there's so many lessons in these next couple tracks. And it all comes to a head in track 15 on the album, which is called I. Remember, the lowest point he was at is You. That was the name of the track, You. He was pointing at himself in the mirror and saying, you, and blaming himself for everything that had happened, and just feeling depressed and miserable. And he was saying, you. This is the exact polar opposite, I. It is a direct response to that track. And this is also a scene. It is him giving a live performance in his hometown, and a fight breaks out in the crowd. I'll let you listen to the whole, we're going to listen to the whole scene. It's 5 minutes long. And this is an 11 o'clock number if I ever heard one.
Is this mic on? Wait. Hey, turn the mic up. Come on. Is the mic on or not? I want the mic. We bringing up nobody but the #1 rapper in the world. He done traveled all over the world. He came back just to give you some games. All over the morning. Come on in.
1, 2, 1, 2. What's happening,
For you. Come on out.
I done been through a whole lot. Tried tribulation, but I know God. The devil wanna put me in a bow tie. Pray that the holy water don't go dry. Yeah.
I want to point out something that's very important. Come right here. This is for you. Come on up. He's inviting people at the back to come up. That's who this is for. It's not for the rich folks in the front. This is for the poor people from his neighborhood, the poor people who are like he was before he got famous. He's inviting everybody from the back of the stadium to come up to the front. That's very important, and it's symbolic, I think.
As I look around me, so many motherfuckers wanna down me, but enemy gon' never drown me. In front of a dirty double mirror, they found me, and I love myself. I want you looking at me. Tell me, what do you see? I love myself. I put a bullet in the back of the head of the police. I love myself. Illuminated by the hand of God, boy, don't seem shy. I love myself. One day at a time. They wanna say it's a war sign.
Like, here he is doing this refrain where the refrain is literally, I love myself. Isn't that an enormous shift in character from what we heard at the beginning of the album, where he was like, yeah, got it, David. Isn't that such a big shift from what we heard at the beginning of the album, where he was looking at himself in the mirror and being like, you are the reason, everyone hates you. He has learned how to love himself. And that's the thing, is at the beginning, what he was searching for, he didn't know what it was, but it was like self-love, really. He thought that the fame and the money and the materialistic things would give him that security, would give him that self-assurance. But really, what gave him that was coming home and sharing what he had earned with his community. That is what mattered.
Bomb in the street, gun in the hood, mob of police. Whack on the corner with a line full of fiend and a bottle full of lean, and a mother wanna scream, These days of frustration keep come to the front. Yeah, I duck these cold faces, post up feet, fight for basis. Dreams are reality's piece. Blow steam in the face of the beast. Sky can fall down, we can cry now. Look at me, motherfucker, I smile. I love myself. And when you're looking at me, tell me, what do you see? I love myself. I put a bullet in the back of the head of the police. I love myself. Illuminated. All y'all come to the front. Y'all come up to the front. Baby girl, you, come on.
Crazy, what you gonna do?
Lift up your head and keep moving.
Keep moving.
Turn the mic up.
Punch it.
It's the best Fashion police, I wear my heart on my sleeve, let the runway start. You know the miserable, do love company. What do you want from me and my skies? Everybody lack confident, everybody lack confident. How many times my potential was anonymous? How many times the city making me promises? So I promise this nigga,
I love myself.
I want you looking at me. Tell me what do you see?
I love myself.
I put a bullet in the back of the head of the police.
I love myself.
Illuminated by the hand of God, boy, don't seem shy.
I love myself.
I went to war last night with an automatic weapon, don't nobody call a medic, I'ma do it till I get it right. I went to war last night. I've been dealing with depression ever since an adolescent. I can never hear the blessing, I can never see the message, I can never take the lead, I can never bother me from a negative and letting them annihilate me. And it's 7 and I'm moving at a million speed, finna run into a building in my body. Hey, hold on. Not while I'm up here. Not on my time. Killer music. Not on my time. We can say that shit for the streets. We can say that shit just for the kids, bro. 2015 niggas tired of playing victim, dog. Niggas ain't trying to play Vic Tutu. How many niggas we done lost? How many? Yeah, how many we lost? No, for real, answer the question. How many niggas we done lost, bro? This year alone. Exactly, so we ain't got time to waste time, my nigga.
This is a scene, right? This is something is happening. There's a fight happening. We're hearing him respond to it like a character in real time. He's acting. This is a scene. And it's a scene that shows the character growth too, right? Like he came from this very shallow materialistic world of fame in LA and he came home and he realized that instead of competing with other black men for the spotlight and the attention of rich white folks, he needs to form community with the people where he came from in Compton. And he needs to stop the fighting, the infighting. Like, that's what he's saying. And then he finishes with a spoken monologue, much like Hamilton's 11 o'clock number, where Hamilton has his a cappella spoken word monologue. What is legacy?
I promised Dave I never used the phrase fuck nigga. He said think about what you saying. Fuck niggas. No better than Samuel on the Django. No better than a white man with slave boats. Sound like I needed some soul searching. My pops gave me some game in real person. Retraced my steps on what they never taught me. Did my homework fast before government caught me. So I'ma dedicate this one verse to Oprah on how the infamous sensitive N-word control us. So many artists gave her an explanation to hold us. Well, this is my explanation straight from Ethiopia. N-E-G-U-S. Definition, royalty. King royalty. Wait, listen. N-E-G-U-S. Description, black emperor, king ruler. Now let me finish. The history books overlooked the word and hide it. America tried to make it to a house divided. The homies don't recognize we've been using it wrong. So I'ma break it down and put my game in a song. N-E-G-U-S. Say it with me, or say no more. Black stars can come and get me. Take it from Oprah Winfrey. Tell her she right on time. Kendrick Lamar, by far, realest sneakers alive.
Like, that's an 11 o'clock number if I ever heard one. Oh my God. Like, he's come so far from where he was at the beginning of the story. And the album ends with a track called Mortal Man, where we hear the full poem of I Remember You Was Conflicted, Misusing Your Influence. We hear the finished poem. And then he simulates an interview with Tupac Shakur, who obviously, famously, was a famous rich man who his fame did not allow him to escape gang violence, and he died as a result of gang violence even after his fame. And there's something very haunting about that with regards to everything that we've heard so far, right? So it's this like beautifully constructed narrative from start to finish where he pays homage to the famous black artists who have struggled before him. He grapples with it himself. He emerges at the other side, and he tries to bring his whole community with him. It's a whole story about it, like in a really complicated, nuanced, realistic way about what it means to be Black and famous, and where the responsibilities are that come with that, where the struggles are that come with that. In America, it is this masterpiece of musical storytelling, and it uses all of those musical storytelling techniques that musical theater uses. And so the point of this, the reason that I spent 1/3 of the Hamilton masterclass not even talking about Hamilton, is because actually understanding hip hop and understanding the power of hip hop is so imperative to understanding how Hamilton works and how important the spoken word can be. That is what is at the beating core of Hamilton. In the next 2 weeks, we're going to talk about in detail Act 1 of Hamilton next week, and then the week after that, Act 2 of Hamilton. And we're going to analyze the music, do some music theory stuff, and I'll be referencing some of the things that we talked about with regards to hip-hop music, and specifically to Pimp a Butterfly throughout that. So I'm really, really excited for that. Let me also just say before I pass it over to Ed, that I am obviously not a Black person, right? I am not the person who can speak with the most expertise on the experience of Black folks in America. I am a musical storytelling expert. So I come at this all from the perspective of musical storytelling. What are the techniques he's using to tell his story? I'm sure that there are many, many folks of color who could do a better job than I've done of, expressing what the deeper meanings are behind this album. But I think that, regardless, it's really important for us to appreciate this album if we are to appreciate Hamilton, and if we are to appreciate musical storytelling in general.
Shalom, I'm David Benkof, the Broadway Maven.
The Broadway Maven is a vibrant educational community that helps its members think more deeply about musical theater. Every month, members may attend 5 to 15 classes and other expert-led Broadway experiences, all for just $18. We also foster enthusiasm for Broadway through the free weekly Substack newsletter MARQUEE and host an expansive YouTube channel. It's your home for Broadway appreciation.
MARQUEE is a free weekly Broadway appreciation newsletter with essays, reviews, piano talks, Broadway blasts, quizzes, and more. Sign up for everything at thebroadwaymaven.com. And here's a video I think you'll like.